This upcoming weather pattern is easily gearing up for the coldest temperatures of the season with 2 shots of Arctic air heading into next week. So let's expand the view this morning on the Northern Hemisphere view. And you can see we've got somewhat moderately cooler air locked into the lower 48 currently right now. Those temperatures will likely start to retreat and get a little bit warmer the deeper in the work week we get. But all eyes will be trending well north as we've got the true piece of Arctic air is already starting to build. That is going to dive southbound and likely enter the lower 48 by the time we head into Friday, with significantly colder air going to be on the way, especially this weekend and heading into next week. So if you are new to the channel and like detailed weather breakdowns, hit the subscribe button and you're in. You get all my daily updates on this channel and to keep you well ahead of the storm. So here's the setup going into Friday. As those temperatures likely will start to retreat, we'll see warmer anomalies come back into play further south of this quarter as the south winds start to come back. So those temperatures are slowly going to be climbing northbound slowly throughout the week. But there is the true colder air, the Arctic air that's been building, that starts to enter into portions of Montana, and that really picks up speed, comes down the Central Plains with easily the coldest air mass of the season heading into this weekend, and some indications it could even get brutally cold. So going forward, we're going to be looking at this little vorticity with along the colder intrusion of Arctic air. We are going to have some lift associated with it. So as that disturbance becomes a little bit more active, it's going to create some snow showers in its wake. So we should start to see some snow falling, as we head into Friday going into that Saturday time frame through Montana, portions of Colorado, and continuing to build and drop further south as that colder air continues to build. And we're talking significantly colder, folks. I mean, this is kind of rare to see. I mean, we don't really get these air masses every single year like this, with now a very impressive 1053 Arctic high pressure building up there in Canada. You know that's going to be significant cold, and all indications it basically comes down the pike here where they'll take the brunt of it, and then it will swing eastbound. So there's definitely easily the coldest temperatures of the season on the way. So if you take a look at the jet stream heading into that 18th, 19th, 20th time frame, it kind of gives you an idea of where the potential of snowfall will fall as much of the colder air drops further south through the 18th, 19th, and 20th time frame. The jet stream takes this storm track right here. So if you live north of the storm track, it puts you in a more favorable place to see in some snow showers as that disturbance continues to move a little bit further south. And that's why the Climate Prediction Center has already highlighted the potential of some heavier snow as that cold air will start plunging southbound, and as that disturbance continues to push further south through that 18th, 19th, and 20th time frame. We do have elevated heavier snow opportunities that will be within Colorado, there into New Mexico, the northern portions of Texas, through portions of Oklahoma, getting into Kansas as well as into Arkansas, and eventually swing into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, those areas, into Kentucky, eventually get as far north as into the Northeast, back into Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, up through upstate New York, getting into Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, as well as into Maine. So this is your more favored area to possibly see some snow along that corridor within the 18th, 19th, and 20th time frame as that colder air continues to plunge southbound. So as we head into Sunday, the true Arctic air will really start showing its cards. This is an anomaly map, and I get, this is granted, this is your coldest time of the year, right? This is the month of January. This is historically the coldest month of the year, and then now you're getting into the coldest time frame of the year, compounding with a true Arctic blast. So there's definitely some brutal air coming on the table, especially when you're seeing some of these anomalies kind of showing up of 30 below average temperatures, and even at times it could peak up at even some 40 degrees below average temperatures. That is some brutal air, folks, as it literally comes down the plains and sends easily the coldest temperatures of the season. So if that does come to fruition, the latest icon, which does pretty well with shallow, dense Arctic air. I mean, this is true Arctic air, folks, straight from the North Pole, coming southbound. And all indications are it's not stopping until it gets well into Mexico. And so by the time we hit to Sunday, yeah, these are potentially high temperatures, folks. Yeah, that's a -1 degrees as a potential high in Denver, folks. Yes, that has the potential. That's something that's a rare feat if that were to be able to come to fruition. The last time they actually had a negative number for high temperatures was way back in December of 1990, and before that it was like 1893. So that is rare territory that we're talking about, and some brutal cold potentially going to be on the table as high temperatures by Sunday might maybe not even out of the teens there in the panhandle of Texas. So that gives you an idea of the density of this true Arctic air. 19 in Missouri, back into 19 in Illinois, 23 in Indiana. The main brunt of it will be coming down the plains with the more intense Arctic air, and that's a 1053 Arctic high pressure parked over the Rockies. That is some intense, brutally cold. And as it comes down, look what happens, folks. We have potentially a low pressure forming well south. This is well south. And if that does come to fruition, that will take a more southerly track. I mean, this is pretty deep, folks. This is a pretty deep track, but there are indications from the Euro as well as the Icon that a low pressure will set up even south of Texas there and track to South Texas and track through the southeast and up the eastern seaboard. If that comes to fruition, this puts this whole area into play for some precipitation, and it would likely be cold enough. It would be in the form of snow. So right now through the 20th, this is exactly where the Climate Prediction Center has highlighted a favorable chance of some heavier snows that could likely unfold. And some of the initial model runs that are just now coming into guidance is already kind of hinting at that. So this is starting to verify of what they are actually seeing just a couple of days ago when they actually put out that map, but gives you an idea of some of the intense cold that could be on the table, especially as the true Arctic air continues to plunge southbound. It's the first initial brunt, and then you got the filter effect on the back side. So as it moves through, you typically get colder and colder with these air masses, and that is a brutal 1061 Arctic high pressure setting up shop across Wyoming, folks. That could be some intense cold. 1050 Arctic high pressure over the plains, 1040 over Kentucky. Yes, that just gives you an indication of the capability of this storm. And if that storm track does in fact drop that far south, again, that would put a good part of Texas, at least in some precipitation in the form of snow, if not some heavier snows through portions of Texas, as well as into Oklahoma, through Arkansas, getting into Louisiana. And that continues to drop the colder air. So by the time we get into Monday, this would be next Monday, yeah, 34 below zero in Denver. That is some dangerously bone-chilling cold, and that's actual temperature, folks. That would not be an actual wind chill. So yes, this has the potential to set some pretty intense cold coming down into the Rockies. 2 degrees there in the panhandle of Texas. You know that's a rare feat when something like that, you almost getting into the negative numbers in the Texas region. 13 in Oklahoma City. Just kind of gives you an idea of the true Arctic air that's potentially on the way, especially as we get into next week. And a lot of the ensembles are already hinting at that with the storm track, right? So right now, we're looking at a storm track that could literally set up a low pressure center in South Texas, folks. This could traverse across Brownsville and then swing up the southeast and into the east. So that puts the whole area to the north of there of more favorable probabilities to have wintry precipitation as far south as Louisiana and Mississippi. We had that storm track last week. This one actually could be even a little bit further south, as a cold air is definitely looking to be a lot colder than that system that we had coming out of last week, especially when the climate models are pretty much on board. They put this out yesterday, and the true dense Arctic air comes to fruition on Friday. You start feeling more of the effects on Saturday, and then between Saturday and Wednesday, it's pretty favorable. A well below average temperature anomalies for a good chunk of the central US. And again, that swings all the way down into the deep south and swings into southeast. No one actually gets left on guard. You got the EPO going negative, you got the PNA going negative, you got all teleconnections going negative, folks. No one misses really out on this Arctic air, really, besides South Florida. I don't think they actually get into the action, but you get the idea. It's really highlighted across the central US, and it'll take a dive down to the central plains, all the way down to the deep south, and actually all the way down into Mexico. And then heading deeper into the next week, there's actually some indications there could be another shot. So we actually possibly have 2 shots of Arctic air, with that first one really filtering in on Monday. The second one could come back on Thursday, just reinforcing the coldest temperatures of the season, and all this area that continues to put the colder air mass and the colder anomalies all the way down into the southeast, much of Kentucky through Virginia, get back into West Virginia. You get the idea, folks. It's going to be cold, and there is that second piece of Arctic air that likely could unfold by the time we head into that Thursday, Friday. So it's definitely trending to be a very cold week, if not a brutally cold week. And we will have wintry precipitation for many areas that typically just don't see wintry precipitation. So we'll definitely have an interesting week ahead going into this weekend, and especially into next week. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch the next update while I protect you before and after the storm.